All right, so we are live and we are recording. Welcome to the Technology Committee meeting, everybody. I'll call this meeting to order at 3:36, and the first thing on our agenda is open forum. Does anybody have anything they want to talk about under open forum?
I'll throw out that I had really good traction with a demo of that camera, the Kodak camera. And sometimes, I guess, boots on the ground and an in-person approach is so much more effective than the surveys of, do you want this or do you need this? Where the results go either unanswered or untended. So real good results with that today of, getting it into some hands. Worked better than the surveys that I've been sending out.
Well, that's really good news.
I'll just note that the printing has caused stress at the middle school. A lot of people coming and asking, and it's not too bad, but maybe a video tutorial would be helpful, even though I know it's step by step. Sometimes the video illustrations help.
Same at my school.
So you're saying we need to switch to the YouTube culture?
Yes.
Yes. Unless you have, go ahead,
Lisa.
Unless you have a "we'll do it for you" culture. If you have that,
we don't have that kind of culture.
That would be first.
Or if we have a lot more time in the day, because I spent about 4 hours doing that Monday, and then.
Right. All right, so noted. I'll make sure Joe gets that feedback.
Do we know when computers are coming for Wallaloom yet?
Aren't they there?
I don't know. If they are, nobody's ever told us.
I don't know that we told you, but I'm pretty sure they started on the carts this week. I thought they were done with the ones that we had there, and I think we need to transport another cart over. But I'm pretty sure that there are computers at Wallaloom that are deployed and just need to be used. All
right. I will check tomorrow.
And those are for grade 1. And I was able to bring in a sub in the computer department, and I'm sure Wallaloom is familiar with him. His name's Anthony Marino.
Oh, yeah.
And
we might know who he is.
He's doing a great job. He's actually going through all the iPads and pulling them out of the retail packaging and getting them ready to go. And those will be coming by the end of the month is what I told him I'd like for a timeline. So,
okay.
And I have the distribution list. There's a certain number per classroom. Okay. Or I think I did it by grade level, and then you guys can figure out the distribution by classroom.
Yeah, that's fine.
So yeah, that's coming up.
Okay. If I lose you, I will get back on. I'm just trying to make the journey home to let my animals out.
Okay. No problem. Anything else under open forum? All right, we'll move on. We're going to table the consent agenda because we don't have a quorum, and go to old business status and discussion. Zoom and Google Meet. I heard that some people were having some trouble with Google Meet this week. It sounds like intermittently the students their video will disappear. But the students can still see each other if they're at home. It's just the video coming inbound to the school district is the way I heard it described. And I hadn't heard anybody really complaining about it here until this afternoon, and then I got hit with a couple. So
I experienced something similar when I was working with a teacher virtually through Google Meet at Metcalf, and when the teacher was presenting the screen would freeze. I would hear the audio, and it was a similar experience to what kids are seeing or teachers are seeing with student cameras. And the same thing was happening to that teacher's video feed.
Now that you mention it, it did happen I was having kids broadcast things, and for some reason it was like MIT App Inventor, and it would just say something about the video on the network. I wish I took the error down, but if I just refreshed the page or left the meet and joined the meet again, I could then see the video. But I must have done it, I don't know, 8 to 12 times, but I figured it was just being hiccupy. I mean, that's in the course of 6 hours of instruction, 150 kids presenting, but it was like 8 to 12 of them. And then today I was from home virtual, and the kids said it was very laggy. So I don't know if going out of the EWG district.
I think it's inbound to the EWG district. Yeah. And there's a huge email thread going on the K-12 directors email list at RISD. And we've got Ocean involved, and they're investigating, because it seems to be Ocean is the common thread. Anybody who's from home or on a hotspot works fine. It's just, the people who are here, their video inbound doesn't seem to be reliable, and outbound is all right, but it's more inbound video to here. So they increased the size of the pipe that they had, the peer network they had with Google, pretty quickly. I was surprised. They got it done in like a couple of hours. They switched it from 10 gig to 40 gig, and that helped a little bit. But then, this afternoon, people are still having intermittent problems. So they're looking at it and trying to figure out what's going on. But I wanted to make you aware of that. Zoom seems to be working fine for a change. It's always one or the other. Does anybody have any comments or anything about Zoom or Google Meet or any kind of video conferencing?
Overall, it's been fantastic for me. I mean, I had that little hiccup this week, but that's what I use exclusively, and it's been great. I've been using it since day one.
Great.
I know when
I've been using. Oh, go ahead.
When the teacher, when her screen would freeze, if she stopped presenting and then represented, it would work again for a few minutes. And I want to say I almost experienced a similar thing. I don't know if it was Google Meets kind of doing an auto bandwidth throttle or not, but I was at school Thursday during a faculty meeting when a lot of the senior high faculty was on, and a lot of their videos would drop out and then pop back in. I don't know if that was a precursor to what people saw today or not.
Well, there was also an issue it started, I want to say right before Christmas, and it was, I think Google fixed it last week, where when a student muted their mic, it also shut off their camera.
A lot of places have changed their hours and services temporarily.
So I want you to look up anything. Thanks, Google. That assistant is very annoying.
But if you could clean the bathroom, it would be fantastic. That's what I like to answer.
So that was an error. That was a problem that Google introduced in the back end, and I think they fixed it. That doesn't seem to be happening anymore. But I think that was a problem right up until Friday of last week. And it only happened on certain versions of Chrome OS, so it was very hard to track down. All right, next thing on the agenda is EdTech in the classroom and EdTech remote. How is that going? I was glad that you mentioned that you got some interest in the document cameras. Is there other stuff we need, or is there anything that's working great or anything that's not working as well as you want it to? Any problems we need to investigate?
I worked just on a simple thing with a teacher in the junior high today who was using an Elmo to project so that the kids in person could see it, and then had an iPad or some other device tilted so that could see the screen. And when the teacher saw how this document camera could just eliminate all of that and the glare and the second connection and all of the headache associated with that, person was ecstatic. And I said, good, now show somebody else how to do that too.
Right. That's great.
Jeremy, the Promethean boards
Yeah.
volume seemed to be decreasing. So I had it up to 100 today, which is as high as it can go. And it was very, very quiet.
Really?
while it's normally much louder. I don't know if something happened over the break with a Promethean update or something, but it might be something we want to look into. So I noticed it this week. I thought it was just my ears on Monday, but it's just continued. So, and I talked to my teacher assistant and she said she noticed it too. So
Art says it's old age.
old age. Thanks a lot, Art. I don't disagree, but the kids are saying it too, and they're not old yet. They're 6.
All right. I will make a note of that and we will investigate.
Thank you.
On the subject of Promethean boards, I do have Promethean boards in the first draft of the budget. I doubt they'll make it through, but they're there. It's going to be yet another really tough budget year. With a level funded budget, Exeter is looking at a 5% increase. And that's level funded without all the teachers who are on unpaid leaves right now. So it's going to be a tough budget year. Again.
Still waiting for that year where they go, we have a lot of money. What would you like?
I don't see that happening in our lifetimes, but.
Art, has that ever happened?
You're muted, Mark. Yeah, you're muted, Art.
Yeah, my space bar stopped working. My space bar mute thing, unmute. No, that's a perpetual. There has never been a time in 31 years when the budget has been easy or out of crisis mode.
Yeah.
And Karen, I'm just wondering, is that just your pro board or everybody's pro board?
So I've talked to a few other people. There's about 3 of us who say it's happening to us. So me, Cindy, and Steve. I don't know about anybody down in kindergarten because I haven't talked to them yet because we're trying not to cross pods and all that crud. But I'll send them an email and ask.
Okay. So if there's nothing else under Ed Tech, student and teacher devices, how are the device evaluations going? Last time I looked, a few people had them in their hands and had some feedback on what they liked and what they didn't like.
Yep, I'm continuing to work those 3 Chromebooks into faculty. I've got a spreadsheet that shows who's evaluated which one, and every time they're done evaluating one, I send them the link to the form, sometimes multiple times, and generally most teachers are good about providing feedback on each device. There's one in my desk drawer. I just said, you know what, I'm not going to go hunt down another teacher this afternoon before I go home but tomorrow morning that's going to go into somebody else's hands and they'll test it out. The people that have the Acer Chromebook, the current Acer Chromebook, are generally impressed with what they're seeing out of the newer machines in terms of responsiveness and just build and fit and finish. A couple of teachers have had were our MacBook Air users, and some of those came back really quickly with a Post-it note on it that said, no, thank you. And I don't know. I've had a chance to test each one briefly. I'm really aggravated that the 2 of them don't have HDMI ports.
Yeah.
That's just inexcusable. And if you go with one of those, and one of them has better hardware and better response and better everything, if you go with those, you're in dongle land again, which is sad. A sad place to start, from which to start. So I don't know. I haven't.
I mean, I think you'll see as time goes on, your devices that you're connecting to will all be USB-C as well, because that is the new standard. And then you won't need a dongle, you just need a cable. But we're a ways out from that, I think. I mean, if we were to buy brand new, just released models of projector, they have USB-C right on them. But it's going to take a long time before that filters out throughout our technology infrastructure.
Sure, even some of our brand new Pro boards don't have a USB-C input.
No, and you'd have to go with the I think we buy the nickel version. You have to go with like the platinum version if you want that feature, because it's new. But I also have a new MacBook with the Apple Silicon in it coming, so you can spread that around and see how people like it. I don't know how well current Mac applications are going to run on it, to be honest, because it is an ARM-based processor. So if you're running, Microsoft Office, it's going to be running in a emulator until Microsoft comes out with a new version that's compatible with ARM. I don't know what we use for applications on Macs. So
I know that the Adobe Suite, when you download things now, prompts for M1 option.
So they
I
must
think
have.
I think Chrome
compiled.
does too, which is what most people are using anyway.
Right. So, we'll have that to test and see how it compares. I would assume it's going to be just fine, but as long as there's no compatibility issues. And then as far as student devices, I like I said, the HPs were what was available. I do wish that we had gone with the Dells, because even though they were saying February, everybody who ordered them got them in at the same time we got in our Dells, our HPs. So, but it is what it is, and they work.
I've asked a few kids anecdotally, "Hey, what do you think?" And I haven't had any students, ready to throw it across the parking lot like a frisbee.
Yeah, I mean, as long as you don't have 10 tabs open while you're trying to video conference, it seems to work just fine. Budget update. I put a lot of, basically everything I thought that was a high priority need I put in the budget this year, and I realized a lot of that's going to have to get cut, but I wanted to make sure that the school committee was aware of all of our technology needs. And we'll see where it goes. We're very early in the budget process. I know I haven't sat down with Jim yet to go through the budget yet. So when I do, I'm sure there'll be questions, and I'm sure there'll be some redlining of the things that aren't critical.
Could you give us a sense of some of the things that were put into the budget that, you thought, oh my gosh, we need to do this, that I, as a classroom teacher, might not be aware of, like in terms of infrastructure or whatever?
Well, our infrastructure is actually pretty good. I do want to do the wireless, but not this year. I was planning to put that in next year, but like UPSs in the network closets, all the UPSs we have in the network closets are pretty much kaput, which is why every time the generator kicks on, everything reboots. So that's in the budget. I actually put out an E-rate. That's a rateable. So I put out an E-rate 470 for that. And we started to get bids back. And the feds will pick up half of it. So that might actually stay in the budget. Because it's only like a $20,000 project. So if the feds are paying for half of it, now it's only $10,000. It's a small spend. What else is in there? Promethean boards to finish out Wowaloom. Promethean boards for, I think I put in grade 3 and 4 at Metcalf. Phone system for the admin building, because our, these PBXs are probably 20 years old. They were used when we got them. So I'd like to do a test system here and then roll it out to the other schools as long as everything goes well. What else is in there? There's a lot of stuff in there that's COVID related, and it's a question of how things are going to, like Zoom. I mean, there's $10,000 in there for Zoom. I don't know whether we're going to need it or not. There's Google Enterprise. I think we should have it. I don't know that there'll be any support to do that in Microsoft at the same time, but it's in there. What else? The problem is that it's closed to me, so I can't actually go look at it right now. They closed out the input. It was another big thing. It's escaping me at the moment. But there's more stuff in there that I know is not probably going to be a priority in a crisis year. I mean, every year is a bad year, but this is a crisis year, which, in my experience, half of the years I've been here have been crisis years, and the other half have just been bad.
How many years have you been here now, Jeremy?
Coming up on 5.
Yep, that's about right on
Yeah.
the split. But yeah, I was listening to. It's amazing now that you have virtual how you can watch the school committee meetings, which I'd never watched, but I watched last night's, and that was sort of the theme: crisis, no money, bleak.
Yeah.
Keywords.
But so the issue is it wouldn't be as bleak as it was, except our budget failed last year. The town of West Greenwich sent out a note to everybody kind of implying that the school committee wanted them to vote no on the budget. So they thought they were doing us a favor by voting no on the budget. And, the town council said something about COVID expenses, which we had already assured them that we would cover from our fund balance. So, it just kind of blindsided us, and there was no time to go back with another budget. So we got level funded, but it was the town's contribution that got level funded. So we had to eat the $800,000 decrease in state aid that we got last year with level funding contribution from the town. So it was really like a huge decrease in funding instead of level funding. And then trying to make that up in 1 year is crazy, basically. And then there was a big population shift between Exeter and West Greenwich, and the charter has no way to smooth out those transitions. So when 2-3% of the kids move from Exeter to West Greenwich as far as the population distribution, then one town can see a huge increase and the other can see a huge decrease.
Yeah, they're also battling that with some of the homeschooling numbers.
Yes. So, it is what it is. They should probably change the charter so there is some kind of equalization model there, but, they like it the way it is, so it is what it is. So that does it for the budget, unless anybody else has anything they want to talk about on the budget. Next thing on the agenda is the technology plan. We should work on that. We did have a workshop on it last month, and I kind of shared my thinking with the workshop group as far as where we were at and where we'd like to be. Everybody has access to go in and make comments on it, suggestions. And I would like to have that finalized before the end of this school year. So if you have some time and you want to go poke at that, please do.
I feel like I was scheduled to meet with you, and I feel like in hindsight that slipped off my calendar or off of my radar, and that I stood you up on that meeting, I think.
Yeah, you did. We'll schedule another workshop to do it again. January is looking pretty busy for me. I don't know. Well, let's move on to share something awesome.
First, I'm sorry about that. I remember you and I scheduling that meeting together, and now I'm thinking, hey, yeah, and I never went to it. So that was not an intentional.
I figured you just got busy.
I have no idea why I didn't go to it.
So there was a board opening at RISD, and somebody left. They were, I think it was Osiris. He was the Central Falls Technology Director. He took a position in Massachusetts, so he was no longer eligible to be on the board of RISD. So I volunteered to fill that spot, and they appointed me so my term will end in like a year and a half or something. So I got a lot more involved in RISD. We changed my first board meeting. We changed the name to kind of more accurately reflect what RISD is about. It's no longer the Rhode Island Society for Technology Educators. It's not for tech ed teachers and computer teachers anymore. It's the Rhode Island Society for Technology in Education. So really, if you look at the offerings they have, which I forwarded to the principals this afternoon, they're doing PD for teachers. Some of it's free, some of it's inexpensive. They're doing all these lunch and learns where you can learn about technology. New, software company will come and say, "Hey, I want to show my product off," and if you're interested, you can just pop on the meeting and watch it. And they used to do them in person, where they'd give you lunch, but now they're virtual. But they're just trying to change their focus to try and help teachers rather than. I mean, they're still focused on the business side. We're still doing group purchasing and things like that. But we realized that we could do a lot more to help teachers.
It's no longer just for nerds.
Right. It's for everybody. So that's my something awesome. Oh, I have another something awesome, but I'll wait till everybody else goes.
I'm going to share awesome things. Art, didn't you hunt something or?
I think he means like awesome in the classroom.
Oh. I thought it was just life.
I have to say that my kids have just become so, I don't know, that they can so easily manipulate everything we do on Zoom, and the way that for 6-year-olds to be able to follow a routine and know what to do, and us being able to know that this was the possibilities for this year. And we sent stuff home in advance of certain things that they would need, and gave parents a basic dollar store supply list of things that the kids would need, like a whiteboard and but even them muting themselves and unmuting themselves, I know that seems like a little thing, but like huge difference this year compared to last year. So technology wise, I feel like the kids have just like been able to do so much more. Unfortunately, they've also figured out how to draw on our screens more, so we have to turn that off. But that's just a real positive thing, I think, that has been going on.
That's awesome.
The kids have been a good source of support for one another, because I know I had a point like one kid in each class to sort of be like my tech from home. So, hey, when things aren't working, let me know, because I think I'm broadcasting, but sometimes you forget to broadcast or you don't realize you're in this, that, and the kids have been really helpful. Matter of fact, today I found out we have a lot of kids who aren't able to log into Aspen and have to fill out the tickets, and just found out today that it's case sensitive. So kids have been putting their email address in, and it defaults to a capital letter when it starts. And then they're getting locked out. And then someone's like, no, you need a lowercase. I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. And then all the kids are like, oh. So it's cool when they have those like aha moments, and then you can share them on out with everyone else.
I still can't believe that Aspen's usernames are case sensitive. I told them that was ridiculous like 5 years ago.
I had no idea.
They still haven't fixed it.
Yeah. Crazy.
I'll throw out that working with a teacher from another school, probably not a tech superstar, but this teacher has just made so much progress. And we went into the virtual meeting, to troubleshoot the issue she was having. And she was confident, and she knew how to do what she needed to do to get the meeting going and present her screen and so forth. It was, that was my success for the week.
Sounds like somebody who might be a good nominee for that technology improvement award that Jim agreed we should move forward with. We should probably have nominations for that at some point, like in the end of the spring, so that Jim can give it out in September.
Absolutely. The video I shared with you with somebody telling me they didn't know how to right click?
Yes.
That person has made amazing leaps.
And that's awesome.
Remind me when I first started teaching technology, like, when the dinosaurs were roaming the earth. And I had told students to right click. And one kid came up to me in all sincerity, he was like 10 years old at the time. And he came to me with a pen. He goes, "Where do you want me to write the word click?" I was just dying.
That would be a good Gary Larson cartoon if he was still doing Far Side.
Years ago.
So I got some sad news last week. I don't know if any of you are familiar with Bill Clay. He was on the school committee years ago, and he's been on the policy subcommittee forever. He passed away, but he left all of his amateur radio equipment to the school district. So we have a bunch of equipment that we can use to start an after-school club now. So I was
Fantastic.
I thought that was really cool that his wife gave us all of that equipment.
He's one of the few people when we've sat in some of these things with the tech and he would come through the microphone. I think we were doing a speaker conversation. He'd bark in and ask questions and really get involved in it. One of the few that we've heard from. So pretty cool guy.
Yeah. I used to sit there and talk with him when he called me, which was rare. We'd talk for hours because he just had so much different knowledge on different topics. It was great. All right, that is the end of the meeting. We've reached the end of the agenda. If nobody has any other business, we will close out this meeting. Close the meeting at 4:07. Thank you very much for coming. I appreciate it. And we'll talk again soon.
Bye. Have a good day.
Talk to you guys later.